everyone, it's Miss Weston. I'm here recording my first video for YouTube, our first lesson. I know that this is a kind of a sad and scary time. We don't get to be together. We have to stay at home. I hope that you and your families are staying healthy and staying safe. And just know that I'm still here for you, even though we're far away. There's lots of ways that you can still get in contact with me, and I'll go over those with you in just a minute. But before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about what school is going to look like now. So I'm going to go over our agenda really quickly, and hopefully that answers some of the questions that you might be having. So, what does school look like now? There's going to be 3 ELA lessons a week that I share with you, and there are going to be packets and which you have in front of you or that you're accessing in Google Classroom that go along with each lesson. And there's also going to be videos that go with each lesson. So here we are with video 1. You'll get a new packet every 2 weeks. And just know that starting next week, some of your lessons are going to come from videos that I make, and some are going to come from videos that Miss Singali makes, because we are working together to get to read the Watsons Go to Birmingham with both classes. So if you have a friend in Miss Singali's class, you can talk to them, connect with them, because they're going to be doing the same thing that we're doing. The next question you might have is, how do I share my work with you? You can share your work with me by taking a picture and emailing it to me. My email address is in your packet. It's on the very cover. It tells you how you can get in contact with me. You can share it with me in Class Dojo. If your parent is linked to Class Dojo, you have a portfolio, so you can go in and add work to your portfolio. And then you can also share it with me in Google Classroom. Something really exciting that Miss Layton and I are doing is we're also having office hours, which is a really fancy way of saying that we're going to be able to talk to you at certain times of the day. So if you look at the cover letter, you'll also see there's a link that will take you to a video chat, and there's also a phone number that you can call in, and it'll go directly to me. So if you look at the schedule that's on the cover letter, we have Monday through Friday from 9:45 to 11. You can reach us. And then we also have some times in the afternoons every day between 3 and 4 and 6 and 7. So if you look at that schedule, that tells you how you can talk to us and you can ask for help, show me the work that you're doing, and just talk to me or talk to Miss Layton. We're always here for you. And the last question you might have is, what will we be learning? We're going to spend this week learning about the Civil War. So I know that we talked about segregation a lot when we read Jackie Robinson's biography, but we're going to take ourselves back in time a little bit to understand the Civil War, which happened before segregation. And then that's going to help us get ready to read The Watsons Go to Birmingham. I'm so excited that we get to read the book together. So if you get an opportunity, if you're bored, or if you just need something to do, make a thank you card for Mr. Meldau, because he's the one that made sure that every single student in 5th grade and in Miss Singali's class would have a book to read at home. So I'm very excited we still get to do that. If you think of any other questions that I didn't cover here, feel free to reach out to me on Google Classroom, Class Dojo, email, or through calling me or video chatting me. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start today with our journal prompt. So you have 2 options for your journal prompt. The first one is, how are you feeling about school being closed? And what do you wish you could tell your teacher? What's something you wish you could tell me right now? How are you feeling? Think about our zones of regulation. Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling excited? Are you feeling a mixture of both? How are you feeling? Your second choice, because you're only going to answer one, you don't have to answer both. Your second choice is to write your answer to question 2, which is, if you could have one thing at your house right now while you're staying home, what would it be and why? So for me, for example, if I could have one thing right now that would make it more interesting to stay home, I think I would want, I would want a very fancy coffee maker, because you know how much I love my coffee, and the little old coffee maker I have at my house right now is just not up to standard. So those are your 2 questions. I want you to pause this video right now, and in your packet, right here, we're on week 1, lesson 1. I want you to do your journal response of the day. So pause the video and then come back to the video when you are finished writing your journal response. Okay, if you are with me now, it means that you already answered your journal response. You answered in 2 to 3 sentences and you are ready to move on. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to go over some vocabulary, which is going to help us with the Civil War book that we're reading. So, as we're going through this, you are going to use your key vocabulary for the chapter right here, right underneath your journal prompt, and you're going to fill in the definition and do a quick sketch for each word. So after I'm done explaining the word, you pause the video, you complete your notes, and then you come back when you're ready. The first word we're going to talk about is the Confederate Army. The Confederate Army is the phrase that we use to describe the southern states that separated from the United States during the Civil War. So I've shown you this map before. If you look here in the blue up here, that is the Union, that's the North. So this blue up here, this is the United States, the states that stayed in the country. Okay, and then the gray down here, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, these are the southern states that separated from the United States and tried to form their own country during the Civil War. So go ahead and write down the definition and do an illustration and come back when you are ready. The next word we'll need for what we're reading today is abolitionist. An abolitionist is someone who fought to make slavery illegal. So they believed that slavery was not okay, that it was harmful, that it was just one of the worst things that ever existed, and they wanted to make it so that it was illegal for anyone to own slaves, to sell slaves, to trade, all of that. So abolitionist is our next vocabulary word. You can go ahead and write that down in your notes and resume when you are ready. The next word is fugitive. A fugitive is a person who is running from something, usually legal authority, so police. So what's going to be really important is when we're reading about the Civil War to understand that there were slaves who tried to escape and run away, and because of the law, they were considered to be fugitives, someone who was running from something, and they were not safe because of that. So a fugitive, a person who's running from something, usually legal authorities, the police, the FBI, things like that. Okay. The last word that we have here today is representatives. A representative is someone who is chosen to speak, vote, or act on the behalf of an individual or group. So, for example, we have student council representatives. We voted them to represent us. We have our class president. I won't say the name here because it is a public YouTube, but you know who our class president is. And that person was chosen to speak on behalf of the student body, on behalf of you all, to make our school a better place. So before we get started with reading today, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what the United States looked like in 1861, which is when our book is actually going to take place. So in 1861, we have more of the states in our country have been founded. We started with the original 13 colonies, which were here on the East Coast, and as more and more people came over from England and the population increased, then people started to move out west. So they started here in this area on the East Coast, and they continued to move west in this direction. And as the states were expanding and coming into being, one of the things that was a primary focus for the government was to keep a balance of slave states and free states. So in this map from 1861, the blue states that are on top here, those states are considered free states, so slavery does not exist in those states. The red states or territories here in the South on the bottom, those are slave states. And what was very important was that if you had a territory or an area of land that was going to become a state, the government was keeping track to make sure that there was a very fine balance between slave and free states so that all the free states wouldn't band together to end slavery. So in 1861, which is the year after President Lincoln was elected, this is what the country looked like. So you can see that there are in total 19 free states and 15 slave states. This map becomes very important because I want you to keep this in your mind. You can see there's almost a total divide in half of the country. The next map I'm going to show you is who voted for Abraham Lincoln. And the election of Abraham Lincoln takes place right before the Civil War begins. So keep this map in mind. And let's look here. When you look at this map, you can see who voted for which candidate. So when we look at the free states and we look kind of at that top half of the country, we see that those states all voted to elect President Lincoln. Okay, then we see at the bottom, in the southern states where there is slavery, that the majority of those people voted for Breckinridge, who was running against President Lincoln. So it's very important for you to see that the way the people voted in this election when President Lincoln was elected as president had to do with the state they lived in and whether or not they believed that slavery should end or that slavery should continue. Now that we understand a little bit more about the map, what I really want to make sure that you all focus on next is our KWL charts. So to clarify, this is the book we are reading right now. We are reading the Civil War book this week. We are not starting the Watsons Go to Birmingham until next week. So for this next activity, you're going to need to have the Civil War book in front of you, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to flip through the book. You're going to look at the pictures, the captions, the headings, all of those things. Just go all the way through, look at the charts, look at the images, see if there's anything that you recognize, a person's name. For example, perhaps you know who Abraham Lincoln is. And I want you to write down in this very first column right here what you know. So as you're going through, what do you know about the Civil War? What do you know about Abraham Lincoln? What do you know about slavery? I want you to fill that in there. When you've done that, I want you to think of a couple things that you want to know. So think of 2 questions that you have, either from something that you've seen in the book or something that I've said, okay? So you're going to take the next couple minutes, look through the book on your own. We're going to read it in just a moment. All right, guys, if you're joining me, it means you've finished adding to your KWL chart and you are ready to read. So what we have here is our purpose for reading. Our purpose for reading today is to understand who was involved in the Civil War and why. So what I'd like you to do is read pages 4 through 7 in your book that you have, the Civil War book that you just finished looking through, and your choice is to read it on your own or to listen to the audio. So Miss Ngali was kind enough to record herself reading pages 4 through 7, and if you pause this video, go to the playlist and click on the next video after this one, you will see that I've uploaded Ms. Ngali reading for you. So your choice is, again, to read it on your own or listen to the audio, but take the next few minutes to read the text, pages 4 through 7. Focus on underlining important things, circling words you don't know, and thinking, what is the main idea? What was this paragraph mostly about? What was this page mostly about? And what was this chapter mostly about? When you finish reading pages 4 through 7, you're going to come back to this video and I'll tell you what you're doing next. Enjoy your reading. All right, if you are joining me, that means you are finished reading and you have read pages 4 through 7 and you're ready to start your comprehension questions. You have 4 choices for comprehension questions. You only have to answer 2. So in the space below on your packet, you are going to choose which 2 of these questions you would like to answer. So I'm going to read those to you. Question 1. What is the main idea of the chapter Lost Cause? Hint. Go back to page 4. Question 2. What was the Fugitive Slave Act? How was it harmful for people trying to escape slavery? Hint. Go back to page 6 if you need some help with that. Question 3. How did Southerners feel about Abraham Lincoln becoming president, and how do you know? Go back to page 7 if you need a hint for that. And question 4. What is the author's opinion on the cause of the divide between the North and South? How do you know? Hint, pages 6 and 7. So what you're going to do now, choose 2 of these to answer, pause the video, go back to the text, write at least 1 to 2 sentences for each question, and come back when you're ready for your exit ticket. All right, you are back, which means you are ready for your exit ticket. I want you to go back to your 3-column chart on page 2 and add the third column, add to that third column, what did you learn? And I want you to add at least 2 things from what you read today, 2 things that you learned. You can write, you can draw, as long as it makes sense to you. That's what I'd like you to do. Thank you for joining me on YouTube today, and I look forward to our next lesson where